Hi, welcome to the Spiritual Speakeasy. I am Julie Couch, and I am new to this forum, and I hope you enjoy tonight. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Kimberly. Tonight's guest is Tanya Veter. She is an amazing woman. She is founder of the Language of Your Destiny, and we want to bring her on as quickly as possible because this is going to be a long chat. We're really going to get into it. One of the things I do need to do is say a disclosure here. This is an R-rated podcast. We will have some offensive language, probably a lot of it. Our topic is an adult topic, and if you are triggered by sexual talk, there will be sexual triggers in this discussion. Hey, Teresa. So without further time being spent, hi, Tanya.
Hey, beautiful.
How are you?
Yes, I am so excited. I am so thrilled to be here tonight, and thank you for inviting me to be. So we're talking about desire tonight.
Yes,
Julie, and
desire.
That has a lot of emotional charge on desire, right? Like, so when you were thinking about pulling all this together, like, what were your thoughts about desire, just overall topic, just so we can get it going?
Well, I think just from our discussion, people are so afraid to come up with and state their desire. They're so afraid to own what it is that they desire. And then when you say, well, how are you going to make that happen? There's that uncomfortableness with not only stating it, but owning it because of the way we've been conditioned from the time we were children, or from the media, or from our culture, or from churches, or whatever, our own traumas. So I think that there is that we hide behind our desire, and then we feel guilty when we receive our desire, because that's really scary too.
Yeah, and when we talk about spirituality and we talk about our soul's desire, we're talking about, like, because I'm the language of your destiny chick, right? Like, what I do is I read words, I read body language, I read tone. There's like 3 different ways to know if the problem's in your life. If you have a problem in your life, I guarantee you it's because you have a narrative that has shame infused in what you desire.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think one of the biggest, like, if I have a soapbox to stand on, it is that we have 3 intelligences, and until you understand the power of your sensual desire, like turning the senses on in your body, you don't have the 3rd intelligence in order to put what you intend or think, what you feel, and actually manifest it, like actually receive it. Most of the coaching I do is basically taking down the narrative that says, oh, you can't have what you desire. You're born a sinner, so therefore you must always be seeking redemption. Like, I would love to stop this redemption search and begin living as if we're already redeemed. Like, there's nothing to fix. So, when I see mystics struggle the most, it's they struggle with, I can't have more than other people. I can't be happier than other people. I can't be more connected to who I am because I don't want to shine too brightly. And if you don't have the fire of your desire, you'll never be able to shine and really enjoy being alive. So when I talk about desire, I talk about, first, why don't you speak freely? Why don't you love freely? Why don't you gift yourself freely? Things that you desire. And, everyone has their own story around that. So that's what I love about this topic. I
Oh,
am
for sure.
passionate about people igniting their desire again, because I don't want anyone to be thinking with another group. Like, I'm talking about solidarity here. Like, we work together, you and I work together so beautifully because we have our own solidarity and we can co-create. None of this following other people's desires. You gotta know your own, and you gotta know how to release it. So that's what I feel about desire.
Let's go back to
So
the word sensual. You use the word
yes.
sensual, and I think when people say sensual, there is a stigma just attached to that word alone. Sensual,
Yes.
sexuality, sex, the act of sex. But people don't understand sensuality is the senses. It's every sense.
Yeah, and then you got to talk about okay, so I love, like, what I'm going to talk about right now, to talk about like the evolution of our ability as women. I can only speak from a woman's perspective. When sensuality was introduced to me, I was born in 1962. All right.
Hey,
So yeah, I know, yay,
hey.
on the edge of the boomers and the next generation, what was very much programmed into my thinking about senses is that if I did get sensual, it was to be done in private. And it was to be done in order to keep a relationship. My senses were not allowed for me to enjoy unless they were connected to a man or a relationship. Now, can you relate to that? Like, can you relate? It's
Yes,
like
that's
women,
exactly for me.
like, I call it the white picket fence programming, the white picket fence language. And Marianne Williamson, in her tape A Woman's Worth, back when I had it on a cassette tape,
Oh, wow.
she said, women had a few choices. You either were the woman in the neighborhood that everyone knew, yes, you were having sex with your husband because you dressed sensually, you dressed sexually, you were that woman. Or you were the housewife, or you were the nun, or you were the mistress, and depending on which role, we couldn't just be sensual without it being for one of those kind of four groups, and if you were spiritual, you surely wouldn't show any of your sensuality.
Oh, no.
And actually, in the ancient goddess cultures, it was the opposite. It
Yes.
was the absolute opposite. And so when we're talking about bringing ancient technologies into the now moment, we're really at some of the best time to be alive, because as a woman, the sensuality and being sensual for yourself, I'm talking from drinking my delicious iced chai, like, to go when I'm drinking it, like, that's sensual. not everything sensual turns into sex. However, unless you understand what makes you spontaneous smile, what makes a spontaneous come to your lips, or when you just want to do that little jiggle, if you don't have spontaneous sensual ecstasy on a daily basis, then what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with the narrative? What narrative is preventing you from enjoying your five senses, right? Usually there's some story going on in your head that I unravel for me. It's a narrative,
yeah.
man. It's
Oh,
a
oh yeah. Because we were
yeah.
trained that way from the get-go. Michael has a comment here. He says, I heard a comedian once say that sex, sensuality was created for one of two things, having kids or getting nice things around the house.
That's right. And look, I mean, we were programmed, and you can still see it, man. Like body dysmorphia.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
I have had a journey with body dysmorphia. Like I used to weigh 420 pounds. And then prior to that, I used to teach aerobics at a health club. I mean, my perception of what it was to be a woman and why I was to be sensual or sexy was in order to get ahead in life. And so if I
Absolutely.
did get ahead in life with it, if I was alone, I was suffering. I never knew how to use my sensuality for my own pleasure. That was not taught. In fact, it was not taught. I mean, even the cortisone schools, and even, it was taught in order to please a man. And look, I'm not against that. I am saying, though, when is it just every man and every woman could tune into their own sensual nature and then share it? That's a whole different consciousness. A
Oh,
whole
yes,
different
it
consciousness.
is. And yet even
You
today,
know?
there's still judgment with that.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of judgment. I mean, look at the United States especially. Well, I mean, I haven't been in other countries long enough to really speak authoritative for this, but in the States, there's such a divide. There's such a divide from what the clothes that we wear, the images we want to project.
Mhm.
However, can you hold that image when there's nobody looking?
And the
I think
labels.
that's yeah. Like if nobody's looking and nobody else is there to give you love, appreciation, or approval, can you still feel sensual and feel good? Can you still feel ecstasy? Like that's what we're not rehearsed in. That's what we're not emotionally rehearsed in. We are emotionally rehearsed in to worry about it. Body dysmorphia is, emotional rehearsal that's taken over the visual and the auditory screens in our brain. And we're basically hypnotized to only see ugly when we look in the mirror, or see not enough when we look in the mirror.
Not enough.
And
And that's a big one.
right, not enough,
I
and
am to be able to sit and say, I am enough. A lot of people cannot get through that. Michael says, when it was talked about, it was called a sin. That's absolutely right. People still feel that way. When you stand in front of a mirror, you feel guilty if you think, damn, I'm looking hot today.
yes,
Because
yes.
we're taught
Now,
that it's bad.
yes. Well, you want to know why? Because when a man or a woman walks in a room and they know they're sensual, they know that they're desired, they know that they're beautiful, they actually shift the frequency in the room. And so it makes everyone else that wants to feel that uncomfortable.
Yes.
So this is research that's been done that within 20 minutes, like within 20 minutes of being in a room, the person with the highest frequency, everyone will attune to that frequency. So let's say you have like, you and I are here right now, and we're beaming the sensual energy. Within 20 minutes, everybody listening to us will meet that frequency and have epiphanies. My practice is to stay within the frequency of satisfaction and to stay within the frequency of beauty. Now, that's not always an easy practice to do, because it just isn't. But that is what gets cultivated. What I teach and what I model is I cultivate being in this frequency. And then when I walk in the room, like Julie, the first time I met you, you were doing it. When I met you in Enchanted and you walked in Enchanted, it was like you were floating. And what did you tell me you did? You knew to what? Put your energy 100 feet ahead of you.
Project your energy outward before you even come in the door.
Right. And that is what connected me and you, because I went, she's doing it. She's doing it. Like,
but you have to
oh my
believe you're
God.
enough. You have to have
Yeah.
self-belief. And that's not a bad thing. And people relate that to being egotistical or egocentric. And it's not. It's not that I feel like I'm better than anybody else. I don't feel that way at all. I'm extremely humble. I'm amazed by the things that I do every single day, and it's spirit driven. And I'm so blessed. But at the same time, I know that if I'm going to do something, it's going to work.
Well, and
And it's
what it
having that
is, though, you see,
confidence.
when a man or a woman is walking into the frequency of beauty, and I talk about the frequency of beauty a lot because it encapsulates overused words like love, like joy. It uses, those are kind of gotten very weak in our language because those words are just thrown around. However, when you say the frequency of beauty or the frequency of peace or the frequency of success or the frequency of wonderment, you're talking about love is interwoven into all of that. Joy, like really there's not like one single frequency when we talk about sensuality. It's taking it all in, and the visual beauty, the auditory beauty, and actually walking beautifully. You don't have to say you're fabulous. That's when someone has got it in their body. Like, you can tell. And some of the simplest practices to do is, how often do you take a ritual bath where you touch all your skin and you feel how soft it is and you feel how rejuvenating it is? How often do you touch your face in a beautiful way? So it takes you desensitizing yourself and like almost like I say, bless yourself, activate your own beauty by activating your sense of touch, your sense of smell, your sense of taste, your sense of sight, and your sense of hearing. Because
Which
then,
is also part of the cleaning process when you're working with energy.
because
You
yeah,
shouldn't just be
yeah,
dunking in a tub and
yes.
getting out. You have to grace and bless your body at the same time, because if you touch your face and it doesn't feel like yours, then we have an issue. You have to go all the way back through and see where everything is and make sure everything's in perfect balance.
That is brilliantly said.
Kimberly just added, Tanya and I both watched Julie going, she's magic as fuck.
She is, because Kim and I went, whoa, and I went, I'm getting a reading with her. And I was like, boosh, boosh, and what
A
I
lot
had
of
shared
interesting
with you.
things said. Magic as fuck. That's funny.
It is true. It's true. I mean, we knew it. And even when we were, I used to train instructors at one time. I think I shared this with you. And I was one of the curriculum that I taught was image. Like, how do you walk in a room when you're going to teach. I used to teach experiential workshops, and we'd have 25 to 50 people in an experiential weekend that we would watch the tongues in their shoes instead of listening to the tongues in their mouth, because what we would do is connect the body language to what they said. And if they were saying one thing and their body's going in a different direction, then, you're not in alignment. So anything you want comes out all scattered and smattered, right? But anyhow, one of the main exercises that we would drill our instructors on is they had to walk into the room, and they had to shift the frequency in the room. And you should have seen how many times people would have to say, nope, go back out. You're thinking about yourself. Go back out. You're not in alignment, because we could tell by when their body walked in.
Mm-hmm.
So after we saw you walking into Enchanted, I told the girls the next day, okay, remember Julie. We walking into Enchanted like that, no matter how we feel inside.
Magic as fuck.
Magic as fuck. We walking in magic as fuck, y'all. So that was always fun. So what do you think, like right now, would be the next thing to dive into? We've talked about body dysmorphia a hot minute. We talked about some language stuff. We talked about sensuality, right? What are you feeling is the next thing that goes in alignment? How to go deeper into this topic?
I think working past, in witchcraft, we call it shadow work, looking to see what your triggers are and why you're not manifesting or speaking your desires. I think that people have had abuse in the past. And even if it's not a direct sexual abuse, it can be an emotionally sexual abuse type of thing, where you're degraded and you're made to feel as though you're not attractive or you shouldn't be attractive. Again, going back to the sin thing.
Yeah.
And then feeling vulnerable if you've had something happen to you in the past that has caused that, allowing yourself to be open again for that, and also being solid enough that if something is dealt to you that is negative, that's a reflection of the person who's being negative and not a reflection of you.
Yes, that's a big piece. Now, the way I help, like Julie, what do you do when you have someone like that? And then I'll share how I help with that. Like if you have someone that comes that, what type of work do you do that helps clear that out of the sex chakra?
Well, opening, being a Reiki master, going through and opening up all the chakras, making sure that they're all in alignment and the body's attuned. And we go through and we work together to speak truths that have come out during that process. So when I'm working on someone, I really work hard at not being quiet and peaceful and letting them sleep. But this is a work in progress. So as things are coming up through your throat chakra, your root chakra, your sacral chakra, whatever, your heart chakra, speak those truths, because if you speak it, it's no longer something you fear. It's now out in the open. Excuse me.
Yeah, and Lionsgate's coming up.
Yes.
Now, Lionsgate is a big portal, everybody. 8/8/2024. And what Julie's talking about right now, what happens every 8/8 is where we lean in to the roar. It has no teeth. Okay. You lean into it. And, it's the story about how lions hunt. And I'm paraphrasing the hell out of this. But basically, the toothless lions stay at one end of a ravine. And the lions over here, the lionesses with the sharp teeth, are at the other side. And what happens, they let the deer or the meal come in the middle of this valley. Then the lions with no teeth start to roar. And then usually the prey runs right into the silent teeth. So it's always the moral of this story, if there's such thing as a moral, is that if there is something that keeps repeating, Like, like when we talk about, here I go again being betrayed. Here I go again, not being able to step into my dream, right? Or do the next step. I'm stopped. It's more than likely your body language is 70%, people, 70%. It's mute. Your body is mute, M-U-T-E. What you think is one thing, what you say, the words shift, what you write lets me know what's coming out of your heart and integrated with your body. So what I do is I love to have people write down their 3 memories. They say what they're wanting to create. Then they give me 3 memories. And in that, I can see the narrative that is overlaying on top of their power. Because you have an auric field, right? You have your auric field, you have your energy field. Then the filters on your eyes and your ears are controlled by a narrative. In every narrative, like you'll see the pattern if, oh my goodness, every time I go to take this move, these memories are coming up out of my subconscious. And you'll be amazed each and every time. These 3 memories I ask to see will show a linguistic pattern. It'll have certain verbs in it. It'll have you somewhere as a point of view. Are you the leader in the story, an observer in the story, the victim in the story? You'll see where you are in your narrative, right? This is the hero's journey, bottom line. And then you're going to see what adjectives do you do when you describe yourself or describe your environment or describe people. So just by the verbs, the adjectives, and your perspective, you can begin to see, oh my gosh, I only need to change 1 or 2 words or change an adjective. This is my experience is affirmations do not work. However, when you see your own narrative and tweaking 1 or 2 words and into your speech, then lifts the filters off your eyes and that auditory loop stops haunting you.
Yes.
Because our narratives create the energy and motion that then move the body. And like what you do with Reiki, right? You get into where is the emotion. When we say clear chakras, right, Julie? Am I right? Like you're clearing an emotional
Blockage.
Yes, an emotional blockage that has just churning and churning. And until the narratives change, and listen, to really change a narrative, you have a different physical experience.
Absolutely.
When
well, you're not the victim anymore.
Yes.
You cannot be the victim if you change your narrative. You become the hero in your own narrative. And that's the whole shift is like the difference between but and.
Yes, that's huge. Like that's one of my favorite ones to share, right? Like this is a real quick narrative change. Say you're talking and you hear yourself say, she's real nice and she's all this, but she's a bitch and blah, 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 blah. Well, what's just happened with the word but, it has separated your left and your right hemisphere. And I know anything after the but is what you really are saying. And that's where the emotions are that's running your life subconsciously, right? So one of the easy ways to start getting brain coherence is by saying, she's nice and she's all this. And when this happens, she's a fucking bitch. And then the and then lets you see a holistic picture of a person, and we do that to ourselves. When we butt on ourselves, that's even harsher. If you're butting on other people, you are butting on yourself harder. That's just how it is. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. And And so I don't know. I might have not answered any questions. I was just channeling right then. So I don't know what I
But
said,
I mean,
really. I don't know.
but I mean, and
Yeah.
and
And,
it's a very
and
valid point though, because you're standing behind your own words when you use the words and, as opposed to but is almost hiding. It's something that you wouldn't say to someone else. We've got a couple comments. Let me see. You're a pro at deciphering words and putting them into blueprint. Kim says you make her cry every time you've deciphered her early memories. Um, Michael says it's, our religious upbringings have put us in this. They make us feel like his words are unworthy and lowly worms. It's hard to rise above that to a level of empowerment and feel authentic about it.
yes.
Because we're stifled.
Yeah.
I mean, even the media is as open as everything is right now. You're not alone. Remember, we're not alone. We're here for you. We're told that how many times on TV and the radio every day. If you need help, but then when you state your truth, that's not the truth that people want to hear.
Well,
It's
because the people that you're speaking your truth to are not in touch with their sensual, sexual nature.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
so you saying it will make someone else uncomfortable. Like, I
Absolutely.
think that's what's one thing I want all mystics to get comfortable with, is that if you're a mystic, you're hearing the sound of my voice and you're hearing the sound of Julie's voice, then you have spiritual gifts that already make people uncomfortable. So why are we being uncomfortable in our own bodies? Like,
That's
that's
a
the
biggie.
one person I want you to enjoy the fact that you will make rooms of people uncomfortable,
That's my
but
goal.
you will feel delight.
That's my goal.
Because we're not here, like when we talk about an awakening, now the awakening has happened. Now we're talking about embodiment. Like, if you want to talk about like where we are on, my experience in my life, I'm in the embodiment stage. There's a place where we have beliefs. If you have a belief about something, you still haven't embodied it. A belief must go into a knowing. And in order to have a knowing, who the hell wants to know their spiritual gift if they're supposed to suffer like it's been preached to us since we were children? We weren't born free. We were told we were born a sinner. And from there, our only choice in spiritual redemption is to martyr ourselves in order to suffer to be good. Now, those two words do not go together.
No, they don't.
Suffer and satisfaction do not go together. So do not trust anybody that says that they love you and they don't love themselves. So if any organization is speaking about not, I'm not saying they're supposed to go love, 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 but you can tell by how does that person feel about being in their body. Do they have a good, solid sense that they are responsible for and can tap into ecstasy without an outside stimulation or somebody else's love, appreciation, or approval? And when you are at that frequency, and it is a practice, they call it instant enlightenment, they call it samadhi, there's all these words, but what it is, it's a practice that brings you into this frequency. And the only thing about being a master of frequency is that you are always practicing. There's no like getting a certificate or an enlightenment certificate. It is just something that you, like I do. I've hit this frequency since Hape, since you introduced me to Hape. And my dedication to the practice of cultivating this emotional has totally tapped me into more ecstasy.
Absolutely.
And to speak about being a divine or an ecstatic technician of the divine, it brings up all of what the world's consciousness feels about the dark side, what they call the dark side of don't get sensual. Don't let a woman or a man be sensual, because everyone's going to start running amok, amok, amok,
Woo.
amok. But I'm telling you right the fuck now, people are running amok because they are not. They've put their sensual and sexual desire in the closet, and they have shame all over it.
Yes,
That's
they have.
what's running amok. It isn't those that are owning responsibility for their own sensual sexual nature. So, you got to really look at it, because the media will tell you otherwise, as they're trying to pump us to overbuy makeup, overbuy products, overbuy girdles, all this stuff.
And their own agenda.
Cleavage.
And their own agenda.
Yes.
That's not even our agenda. We got a couple comments. Kathy says hi. She wanted to give you a shout out. Tanya is great at helping people change their narrative. Joanne she's a psychic reader. Why do men want women to be the perfect wife to the outside world and the whores in the bedroom? Where did this thinking originally come from? Is it fear-based? I don't understand the root of patriarchal thinking. And we'll get to that. Brandon.
Yeah.
Brandon.
That's a great question.
Michael says the way that was taught to me is that ecstasy or feeling sensual was just lust, a thorn of the flesh, and a trick of the devil to lure me away from God. Never really believed that, although I complied. And how many people didn't? I mean, how many people did comply? Right. Let's make a shift.
How many people would hide their wildness?
Oh yeah,
it
wasn't even wild.
Right.
It's just normalcy, like Joanne said, a whore, be the perfect little housewife or the perfect house husband, whatever, and then be the whore in the bedroom. Well, why are we thinking in terms of being the whore in the bedroom? Why are we even, that's sin related, right? So we're using words all the way through that are very sin based, religious context, shame based, judgmental words.
Yes.
And the same with the root chakra. You hear the root chakra and people go, oh, that's bad. That's bad. That's lower vibration. I can't tell you how many times I hear that. That is lower vibration. You should listen to music that vibes higher. You should be up here with your vibes, the higher frequencies, nothing low, nothing primal. Because
and that's because somebody else got their root chakra. That's why, like when you reclaim what I call your sovereignty, all right, and I use that word because I want people to think for themselves. I don't want anyone to follow me. There's 8 billion people on this planet. There's 8 billion different ways to eat. You got to discover your own way. All right. And when you do, no one can take it away from you. So if you don't deal with your scarcity issues, which that's why nobody wants to go. Look, Money and Life Freedom, I taught that class for decades all over the world. And people come in there wanting to manifest something, but they want a vision board to do it. They want high frequency music to do it. But the whole time, remember, the body's 70%. The root chakra comes from your hands. Like when we talk about root chakra, where from your hips on down, almost half your body is root chakra, including your hands, because they go down there. They can hit all the chakras, right? So the thing is, they want magic instead of dealing with what's in their root chakra, which was in their DNA 7 generations ahead of time, of scarcity consciousness, of when I get the things on this vision board, I'll be enough. I will have made that white picket fence dream. Now, that's that part about root chakra. Root chakra is what grounds your ass in the sensual nature of the world. And if you can't deal with your own lack consciousness, because that's what's in there, it's the scarcity, it's the flight or fright, freeze, it's those automatic nervous system things that are really generating from your root chakra that come up the body and go into these crazy loops. So the two main chakras, in order to ground any kind of flourishing life, must begin with root chakra. And then you must dovetail in, what do you believe about your right to own the 5 senses, and of course the extra senses? But this is a friggin' gift, this body. And you have permission to feel good in it. Now, the earlier question about the patriarchy's way of thinking, this is very paraphrased. Okay, I go into it deeper when I teach it. But basically, when we were goddess cultures, we weren't as kind either. Like, let's just get it straight. I mean, the first matriarchal driven cultures still had power in it and all the things that we're seeing now. But at one point, when they figured out that it wasn't just a miracle, like usually children's last names were the mother's last name, because not every time a woman had sex did she get pregnant. So they didn't connect men as having anything to do with the birth of a child. Women didn't get married. Women weren't owned as property. It was more, I'm not saying free love and all that, but it basically was more of, when I have the desire, when I have the time, and, pleasure was more infused in the whole act of sex at one point. Then when they found out what happened, then doctors started taking over, and men said, oh, you're like, I'm the bull and you are going to make offspring. So women had to decide. And back then you were even sold to convents, or you were sold to a man. And then the man also had a mistress on the side. So in the 60s and the 70s and the 50s and 60s and 70s came along, some of the housewives started saying, I want to also be the mistress in the bedroom. And some religious, I'm not going to name names because I've studied lots of religion, but the inner workings of some religions teach women how to be a spiritual seductress and also run a family. And that gets kind of distorted, because usually the woman is following some type of patriarchal written, because see, the men used to sit down and talk while the women cleaned the houses and took care of the babies, and they made all these rules up. It's not like women sat around and said, this is how I want my life. So still, what you just have to understand, how did the patriarchy come to be? It was really a natural evolution. I'm not about fighting the patriarchy. I'm more about unleashing anyone I work with ability to own their body, own their story, own their narrative, and release their divinity. I use a divinity in the way that it's the great mystery of you. And you claim your birthright, that you can have heaven on earth right now. And in my heaven, I'm making love and I'm making art and variations thereof. So, it really is your imagination. But what is it fueled with? Is it fueled with shame? Or is it fueled with scarcity? we can discover that in your narrative. So yeah, I said a lot. I know. I got very passionate about
No, it's beautiful though. No, and we should be. Greg says hi. Hi, Greg. Um, I think it's really important because that ability to own and realize, I mean, we're here, the duality of earth, our bodies, depending on, what your belief system is, but we are here on earth to experience earth-based things in human form.
Yes.
So I think, being free to, like you said, you taste a good wine, you take a bite of some amazing food, that, orgasmic response where you go,
Sensual is
"Oh my God,
laughter.
this is amazing. Whoa, it's so good."
Yes.
And then people around
And
you are
look,
looking at you like, "What's wrong with her?"
they will say that at first, but remember, I don't know if I'm dating myself. Was it Meg Ryan when she did that? She faked that orgasm, and everyone goes, "I
That
want
was
what
so
she's having."
yeah.
Yeah. That what I mean. Sleepless in Seattle. I think I don't know. I don't know which one it was.
Why worry?
But
Why
being
do we worry?
yeah,
Why do we get hung up on what those kind of things? Why? We shouldn't, because it's all about,
because
like
so
you said,
much,
the desire, the sensuality, the
and
hesitation.
that's why
How many
I really love the RuPaul is coming to mind right now, right? Like I really love, I don't know why RuPaul, but basically people that take this idea of sensuality over the top, like just openly talking about it. It's one of the ways I like to listen, because so much of what we watch on TV is edited towards still what I call the white picket fence. Really, if you watch Lifetime movies and all these movies, it's like, oh, I'm so happy because I have my house and I have my car and I have all that. No, that's not living sensually. That's living repressed on some level, following some type of media description of what your life should be, how
Matrix?
you should be enjoying your life. Right. Yeah. Say
Get
more
plugged
about the
in.
Matrix, Julie. Like, yeah, like say more about that, you know?
Being plugged
Like how do you
into
detach from the Matrix? Yeah, say it. I'll shut up for a
it's
minute.
hard. No, no, it's hard because you see something you like on Facebook, you see something you like on TV. We're merchandisers. We go out, or whatever the word is, we go out and we buy it because we think we need it instantly, that instant gratification, and sitting back and taking time to say, do I really need that? Is that going to fulfill my spiritual need? Be in tune with what you need, not what the agenda has taught us to need. Walking into my house and going, the energy is completely off in this room. What do I need to do today? I need to go in and clean this energy so that I'm comfortable. Fuck anybody else. It has nothing to do with anybody else coming into my house and saying, gosh, your house feels so wonderful. Fuck that shit. I got to live in my own
Right,
house.
right.
And right now
I
there's
mean,
2 inches of pet hair in there, and it's, but they're my kitties and they're my puppies, and by God, that hair is going to be there. So I'm not here to please anybody else. I'm here to roll around with my puppies and kitties and play. And, I mean, like, not worrying about what other people think. I worry about what I
yeah,
think about myself
and what you feel.
and what I
Like when we
feel. And if
talk
I'm
about
disturbed, why am I disturbed? Who or what has come in that has changed, and why did that trigger me? Go so far as to say, why was I triggered by this response? Don't just go, oh, it's because this person is yada, yada, yada. No, you can't say that. I was the one that was triggered. I have to own that so that I can meet my own desires. Why was I triggered? Let's go all the way back and dig it, and let's let it go so we can enjoy life.
yeah, and it's not just, this is something else I want you to know. Like one of the like when I was talking about touching your own body sensually, this is how
Thank you,
you
Chelsea.
know how comfortable people are, right? Now, what I also see a lot in the spiritual community, not Not when I'm really meeting with people, I see all types of people enjoying their bodies. When I look in the media, though, what I see is that there is this like cookie cutter. If you are totally aligned, then you're thin and you look like this and you dress like this. And if you hold goddess energy, you know, you're slim and all these things, or something's out of tune with you. Now, I've carried weight my whole life. Okay. And some of my most effective teaching experiences have been when I was 420 pounds. And I dressed like the bag lady. I had short hair. I mean, you wouldn't even recognize me. And I have also, a lot of people won't touch themselves unless they feel they're beautiful enough for them to touch themselves. And
That's sad.
or unless they, you know, and I think that's like, if like for anyone that's listening, because I know we're coming to, it's 52 minutes, like what is one of the biggest things? Like I want you to feel good in your skin and start activating your actual skin sensors, which skin is your long, you know, your biggest organ, and your beautiful body just like it is right now. Because you don't wait until you look a certain way in order to activate your sensuality and your sexuality. And
Amen.
that's something else that's prevalent. And you're not more holy or more spiritual or more aligned if you can fit in a size 9. Like that, those narratives, I'm like
Out
passionate
the
about
door.
bursting through.
Out the door.
Out the door. Out the door. So, you know, so that's a big message for men and women. Don't wait till you look like what you think you should look like before you can enjoy your sensual nature, you know. And women are supposed to be having orgasms daily, and that's just how it's supposed to be. But if you ask a woman how many times does she have an orgasm a week, you're not going to hear daily.
Oh, no.
You're
No,
not
no,
going
no.
to hear it. And, you know, I ask why. You know, that's the question, and only you have the answer for it. When I ask that question, you know, ponder that. Like, why don't you have a body built for ecstasy? Why aren't you experiencing it? What narrative is keeping you from experiencing it? Because any incantation, any ritual you're doing, if you do not know how to infuse ecstasy into it, you're going to have to wait a while before that thing manifests.
Oh, for
You
sure.
know, it just,
Yeah.
yeah, this is energy we put in that. Yeah, there you go, Michael. There you go, Michael.
Chelsea says
Oh,
she's
I just
humbled and
love
honored to know us both. Keep it going. We need these kind of conversations. We do. We need real open conversations. Sarah says we're both amazing. Thank you so much, Sarah. We need to hear this too to keep us going on the right path. You know, so I was just thinking when you were talking about, you know, the self-touch, if commercialism hasn't done something for us, put your foundation on with your fingers. I don't give a fuck what they say about, oh, the oils from your fingers, whatever. That's to keep you from touching your skin.
right.
It
Right.
is completely from touching your skin. Put your hands on your face every day to put on your makeup, to take off your makeup, whether you wear makeup or not. Your body, moisturize because you have to touch your own body. Don't use a body pad to put your moisturizer on. Put it on with
Yes.
your hands. This is,
And like, oh, the backs of your ears, man, all your erroneous zones, like here, the elbow, like the crook of your elbow, right behind your knees, like and the soft touches, the real tingly ones that, you know, and then you'll start feeling the tingles. I used to tell people, I used to give the passion test. All right, love that book. and it's a questionnaire, and then I would say that give them homework. And they said, well, how am I supposed to know what my passions are? I said, walk by it. If your nipples get hard, go for it. Like, start paying attention to when you get goosebumps. Pay attention to when a spontaneous smile comes across your face. Start paying attention to those slight body tingles that are going on, and then have the courage to move towards what's making you tingle. You
Or
know,
even the blush response, the
oh yeah,
blood
the blush
circulatory.
response.
That's a biggie.
Yeah,
People are like, oh my gosh, and then they run and hide instead of going towards what has made them blush.
yes,
That's the first, it's right there. It hits something within you if it made you blush.
yes. And it was like a little bit of that effervescence from the inside, you know. And when we fall in love and we have those butterflies in our stomach and all of that, that's practice. That's practice. But do you know that that same experience you can have on every day, being that in love with yourself and have butterflies going on? It's a practice when you don't have to have someone else stimulating you to feel good about yourself. This is like what I call advanced practice, like to pull up that feeling of ecstasy and have anyone have to love, appreciate, or approve of me in order to do it is real freedom. It's the freedom we're seeking,
And so many
and
people are
that,
so far removed from that level. I see that a lot with clients that come for first time readings. The fact that they're searching for someone to love them instead of finding that love within themselves first.
yeah, and I think even before love, this is like the base stuff. We're talking about that base root chakra and sex chakra. Before you can really get love, you got to feel good in your body.
Oh, for
Like,
sure.
because the concept of love that we've been sold and we've put into our narratives is one of being chosen, the one of being desired by someone else, the one
I
being
agree.
taken care of by somebody else, right? Well, if you're a mystic and you're not releasing and connecting to the abundance that's here all the time, and you don't have to worry, and if you're worrying, then that's a practice a mystic needs to get to where, no, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied. You have to get to the frequency of satisfaction. When it comes to love relationships, you can never trust someone that tells you that they love you and they don't love themselves. That does not work. I don't care how many times, and this is a big point of where self-respect must come before self-compassion. Because what happens is self-respect, like when I'm changing a motoric habit, like when I'm saying, okay, I'm going to feel ecstasy every day, I'm really resisting a new motor. It's a motoric move I'm making, not so much the world and whatever people say. I am resisting my own motoric move, right? Well, when I first start walking, or when I first start taking time to make a ritual bath, I'm going to resist it. It's going to be a natural, I'm not used to doing it. It's going to resist a hot minute. I'm not going to like it initially. I'm going to try to talk myself out of it. But when I have self-respect, I do it even if I don't like it initially.
Yes, we have to.
And then,
You have to.
yes, and that's it. And because it's a learning curve. It only takes 40 days though, Michael. It only takes 40 days. That's an inside joke with me and Michael Gruber. It only takes 40 days to change a motoric pattern. Okay. Now, the first 20, you might have resistance. By day 20, it has a pivot point, and then it starts becoming easier and easier and easier. So understanding that self-respect before self-compassion, because one of my biggest mistakes was, Julie, is that I had self-compassion. So let's say someone came up to me and they hurt me, said something ugly to me, I could go, but I understand they have a wound, and I would just let them back in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because that's what I would do to myself.
Yes.
Like I would know what would be the most self-respecting thing to do, but I would talk myself out. No, I can't do that now because when I was a little girl, I had this wound. I'm not making fun of that. I'm just saying, see the logic? It goes back to my wounding and talks myself out of doing something that's in my best interest.
Absolutely. Well,
So
we're our own worst enemies. We are our own
that's
worst enemies.
and so when it comes to love, when it comes to sharing with someone, the love I have for myself, the senses I love, and giving pleasure and sharing pleasure, then I'm coming full on without having anyone else have to stimulate that. And that's even more freedom. So that's what you get to look forward to when you do a sensual practice. You know what I'm saying? So are we
Yes,
good? Like this is
we are
can
good.
we
It
just
is
keep
time.
going?
We can
Okay.
keep. Can we keep going? That's a good question.
Yes. I mean, does anyone have any questions before we sign off? Are there any questions or anything in specific
Just
that's
a
holding
lot
back
of
on?
comments. A lot of really good comments. Love has to be spontaneous. Great show. I think people need that forum, that permission to be able to
Yes.
be free within their own bodies.
And that's another way to use
Thank you,
that
Michael.
and but, okay? Hey, Michael. But like what I want you to know is that that's a great way. Like say you heard something tonight and you're saying, you know what? I'm going to start testing this out. I'm going to begin to touch my skin, activate my senses, really taste my food, really make like how does it feel? Open up that throat chakra when you drink your coffee in the morning, right? Start
Mm,
making sensual sounds. Now, when you do that, you might say, "Ooh, that sounded weird," but say that sounded weird or that feels different. And what else? Use that and say, and I prefer this as to this, and then you'll start seeing it opens up the brain. What we're doing neurologically is that we're connecting the left and the right hemispheres. We're getting brain coherence and opening up that pineal gland, you know, which, there's all kinds of ways to do that. But when that is all integrated and you have the root chakra moving up, having all this yummy sensual stuff in your emotional center, and then you also have your vision and it meets in all this sensual emotional center, you've matched the frequency of that which you desire. You
yes.
desire through your senses, not through your words or a vision board, right? Like that's the key point here when we talk about sensuality. And
And
of course,
happy
sex gets
movements.
really good.
Happy
Yes.
movements. Dance. It doesn't matter when you're by yourself if you're a good dancer or a not so good dancer, in your opinion. Put some groove and music on and get used to your body and how it moves and how it feels.
But if you're in a marriage, do you get what? That's a great question, Greg. Finish the rest of it. That's a great question. Like, can you do this practice and not expect your partner to join you on the same journey? And the
Yes.
answer is yes. In fact, you can only do this practice alone, really. And then what happens, say your partner is not like on the same spiritual path as you or whatever, right? Or they're not wanting to tune into all of that. I guarantee you start activating your skin and touching your face and bringing that ecstatic energy to your body on a daily basis. All right. Then what occurs is when you do have an intimate moment with your partner, you're going to feel it like a bazillion times more because you've already activated your nerve endings. You've already stimulated them. So a slight touch, a breath at the back of your neck, all of that will intensify. You already have ecstasy within your body. What is the volume in which you're willing to turn it up? And that's infectious. So if you're having a good time touching yourself all over your body, just not on certain, not just your genitals, not just that. You have to spread the sensation down your inner thighs, behind your legs. You want to feel sensual everywhere. Okay. Yes.
Like a second date. With yourself.
Yeah, like a second date. That's right. With yourself. Right. And then, you're having a twosome instead of a single sum. So yeah, that's it just multiplies then, because then you're the own authority of your attractiveness and your desire, and you don't feel that needy, I'm not worth anything if they don't love me. They may be having a bad day.
Here's the other thing. When you're with your partner, then you're free to be yourself. And so many people, I feel, my belief is that so many people do not feel comfortable in their own skin. If you can't touch yourself and you don't know what you like and you don't know what brings you pleasure or displeasure, because, like the bottoms of my feet are off limits. Like that is horribly painful tickle. Like that is horrible. It is absolutely horrid for me. Like I will kick you in the face and knock your teeth out. Like it's not good at all. So if you don't know those things, what is good and what is not good, then how can you go into a sexual or sensual relationship with someone else and expect them to know and be comfortable with you if you're not comfortable with yourself? And, it's kind of like getting dressed or undressed in front of someone. And are you comfortable in your own skin? Do you love your body enough to be you? And
right.
That's a whole thing too, because you can't expect someone else to touch you with that intimacy if you can't touch yourself.
Exactly. And the whole part about the practice, like what do you do then? If ever you have that question come up, what do I do next? What I want you to understand is stay in the now moment. Like what's happening is wanting the next step before doing the first step is the way that the mind keeps you from doing the first step. All right. So I want everyone to know, like, what's the very first step is your skin. If I had to say, which of your senses do you want to start tuning into? Know your erroneous zones. Know your skin is the largest sensual ecstatic organ we have. And those ritual baths, also, like Julie said, touching your face. Then getting groups like this where you can speak freely, because once you start stimulating your skin and you start activating this, what will happen almost instantly is every narrative you have that what you're doing is not good, it's a sin, you're going to go to hell for it, or the world is this and to run amok. That's usually the whole thing. You're too wild, you're too loud, you're too much, you're too fabulous. All of that auditory stuff will come up instantly because it's clearing, and then that's when you want to talk to somebody, because you want to open the throat chakra up about it. Because I guarantee you, as soon as you start feeling good, your narrative of why you shouldn't feel good is going to come right to the top. And that's what we want it to do, everybody. We want the narrative to come to your awareness. So it isn't the time to stop. It's the time to connect with the healer and go through the narrative of what it is, you know? And so it is a journey, and it is a journey of desire.
Yes.
So, like, if you're going to have an adventure, why not that one? Shit, enough of this suffering for your soul. It's time to have some ecstasy.
Absolutely.
With your soul.
Yes. Yes.
Amen, soul system.
Soul
That's
system.
what I say.
Yep. Any questions?
Hey.
Greg says, but isn't it life?
Yeah. Say la vie.
Life is what you make it.
Yeah, like me and my team, like, we're Mystics in the Mountains, and you can go to mysticsinthemountains.com to join the mailing list. That's where we're at. Like, we're revamping everything, as you know, Julie. But one of the things that myself and my team, we've cultivated an intention. And there's a couple of them I want to share. One is I choose, instead of I am, I choose goes to root chakra. I choose to be an ecstatic technician of the divine. And then that brings forth an image. And another one that we do quite often when we do our intentions is we say each I, you know, but I say, I am a chalice of the currency of love, and or the currency of beauty. But it envisions the body being a chalice. Okay. And then what is the currency I want to live from, speak from, move from today? So you can put, I am the currency of fabulousness. I'm the fabulous currency of gorgeousness. I'm the fabulous of overflowing effervescence. Like the words like the like luscious, delicious, scrumptious. Those who you want to start weaving into your daily speech, because then it elevates the brain out of the victim story into your authentic story. You know, your soul starseed story, which is you are fabulous, darling, gorgeous, sensual, and on time. So those are the types of tensions that you can begin with in your morning that helps you feel more of the activation within your body. But you understand, you must do, like Julie said, the dancing, because if you don't move your body or touch your body, then sensuality and sexuality would just be a dream. And we're about embodying it right now. Right?
Yes.
You feel it?
I mean, that's what it's all about, is getting so, and like we talked about the 40 days, you have to practice this. It's not going to come easy. It doesn't just like flip into your script every day. There are times it's uncomfortable. Change is not comfortable for most people. So getting into that pattern of this may not be comfortable today, may not be comfortable tomorrow. It may be 20 days of being pretty fucking uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, I am going to go ahead and do it because I'm going to be better off for it. And after a while, you start doing it in your body, in your muscle memory, and you get used to doing it. And then it's not uncomfortable. Then you look back a year from now and you go, huh, that was absolutely nothing. You should see what I'm working on now.
And one of the things I'm really, really, really good at is I break it down to the baby steps. Because what I want people to do, like you can go, that it isn't true, no pain, no gain. As soon as the body hits pain, it shuts down. There's cortisol, there's all kinds of things that go into the body. So when I work with somebody, I work them up until where they're in that sweet spot of what I call the quickening, where it's just outside enough to start growing those new neural pathways. So it is the hardest time in a 40-day as I lead it is day 20. It's the halfway mark. That's usually when the nerve endings the new ones have grown. And then you're actually at the decision point. It really culminates in like a 5-day period, like from day 18 to day 21 is the hardest days of any 40 day. Now, since 2013, I've been leading these. I myself did 40 days back to back. Do the math. It's really ridiculous. To get the measurements of this and how to make day 20 not be such a tower moment. Because when I first started doing this, day 20 was total fucktards of, and I was like, I can't get anybody to want to do personal growth if this is what day 20 looks like, like the dog leaves, that everybody leaves, all the characters in your narrative were just being flung off. So over the last 11 years, I've learned how to break it down so that I'm going right to the pivot points, so that yes, you have a pivot, you have an epiphany, we can get it moving, but it's not as resistance driven. It's not as resistant driven, and you'll see that a lot right now in Joe Dispenza's work. You'll see it in a lot of people that couldn't walk and now are walking. It's kind of prevalent right now in what's going on with neuroplasticity. So there is a way to break it down, and it is through your narrative. So just know that's one of the ways that I help make the 40-day not so rough now. And so it's kind of moving like butter. Now I can kind of see what's going on with people. But yeah, thank you for saying that, Julie, because that is usually when people stop. Like, why do we set something at January 1st and then, it stops before February 1st? It's because by day 20, the body is resisting the new motoric pattern so hard. The auditory stuff gets so loud and you're at decision point. And I say, look, there's only two paths, one choice. Which nerve ending are we going to grow stronger? The one that says you can't, or the one that says you can. And
every excuse is going to come up. Every excuse is going to come up at that point to make you take the one you can't. I mean,
yes.
The kids are going to need something. The grandkids are going to need something. The telephone rings. Dinner has to be fixed. There's always going to be 100 excuses, and working through that and saying, you know what, those excuses are still going to be there. I'm going to go ahead for today and do this for today.
Yes.
Don't, again, live in the now, not the 2 weeks from now. Live in today. If you live in today, today's what you have. Today, I'm going to do it. Tomorrow, I may not, but today I'm going to do it. And then tomorrow, today, I'm going to do it.
Exactly. And you can make huge changes in a quicker period of time when you break it down to the baby step. And your brain will tell you, no, it's not a big enough step. I'll tell that to shut the fuck up.
Get out the door.
Because that's right. Get out the door. It's time for you to go. It's adios. So yeah, that's how I want you to be able to speak boldly to yourself with certainty. And you will when you embody your ecstatic nature.
Yay! Tanya, give yourself plugs. How do they get a hold of you? How do they reach you?
Okay, so right now I want you to know I'm booked with private sessions until the second week in August. I do 8 sessions, like 8 of like the intro language sessions a month. So what you want to do now is just go on Facebook or join my mailing list at mysticsinthemountains.com. Like I said, it's underneath construction right now. I'm on TikTok. I'm on Facebook. I have some groups, The Language of Your Destiny. We'll be sending out an email with links on how to book appointments for August. Also, Patreon account is getting launched August 8th. And in that, I have the Course in Miracles, which I'm on there for you to partake in. It's a great body of work. Also, we're doing 88 days in the frequency of beauty. And what does that mean? That means this is about if you suffer body dysmorphia or money dysmorphia or life dysmorphia, it's how do you change your frequency? And I use human design to know what aura system and what frequency you're supposed to be connected to, and help you cultivate a daily ritual in order to elongate the frequency that of your aura. Okay. So it is in the frequency of beauty. It's 88 days, and Vicki and I are on day 50 of an 88. And we're going to, like I said, launch that. It's kind of like you get to eavesdrop on our results, what's happening with our bodies, and how we feel like we have connected to a fountain of youth. Okay. That's number one. Number three, I have the Language of Your Destiny Patreon. And that's why anyone that's in there, like I'll hold a Zoom room and I'll read people's words, and people can eavesdrop and learn how to do a journaling process so you can read your own words. And so that's all coming out August 8th. And they have a 7-day free trial and all of that. And last but not least, hopping. I do full moon private. You come in a private Zoom room on the full moon. It's free. It's an event. And it's where I lead a hape ceremony. I talk about hape, which is shaman snuff. And I share how it's one of the most powerful tools that I feel that you could add to a daily practice. Julie introduced me to it. And my physical health, my emotional vibrancy, everything has transformed with this beautiful plant medicine. So I have that coming up Monday, the 22nd, and it's a Facebook Live event. So I think I said it all.
We will get all these listed in the comments.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, okay. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
They've got your stuff pinned, so that's good. Thank you guys at Supernatural Inc. So, yeah, absolutely. And Hape, if you have questions, hit either one of us up about Hape. We both are ceremonial leaders and users of Hape, plant-based medicine. It is amazing for the soul and just to heal your thought processes. It corrects the thought processes, I think.
Yeah, it was Julie that told me in February. She looked at me in the eye. She did my bone reading, and then she looked at me and she goes, "No more Celsiuses," because I mean, literally, I knew they were bad for me, and I kept doing them. And she goes, "I know what you're looking for." And she had you have this beautiful box. I now imitate Julie, and she goes, "You're searching for Hape." And then she did like that, and I went, "What is that?" I know. Every time I do a Hape ceremony, Julie, I introduce you because you, every time. I am so grateful for you being in my life. Mwah.
Oh, love you, sister. Thank you so much for being on the show, everyone. Thank you, Tanya. We'll touch base. Stay on until after the credits run, and then I'll talk to you. Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Michael, Supernatural Inc., everybody who made comments. Sarah, thank you so much for being on the show tonight. Hope it went well for everyone. We will see you again next Sunday night. And I love you all.
Yes.
Good night.